There he is, ready to rock and roll. How you doing, my friend? You got some speaker on or something?
Do I?
I don't know. All right. No, it looks like it's gone now. All right. All right, good stuff. All right, so talk to me about this.
I saw this yesterday.
Jesus. Seriously. Seriously. Come on. Come on. This is Stephen Ross, promoting Tebow and your Gators. Wow, you've got the Canes as a tenant. These are things that what are they thinking is what I'm going through. And I get it. People aren't showing up, but that's your own fault that people aren't showing up. But you want to try to bring the Mets fans in for the Brave series?
I don't know. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess it got a lot of attention, and so sometimes bad attention is good attention because it just sort of gets people maybe interested in it. It definitely probably went viral, so it got a lot of clicks. Maybe that sold tickets at the end of the day. Maybe that's what they wanted. But I didn't tweet anything about it. I didn't even really know what to say. I just was kind of like indifferent to it where you know what my tweet would have been, Orlando, is
What?
it would have been the Marlins can't beat the Braves the last 5 years, so maybe the Mets fans will come, help them do it. Like I
Okay.
felt like saying that because that's the truth. Like they haven't beat the Braves have owned them the last few years. But look, I want to have a day where I go to the park and it's against the Mets and it's against the Braves and there are more Marlins fans, but there definitely are not right now. I went to the last Mets series and there were by far more Mets fans than Marlins fans.
Of course, there should be. I mean, that's just the way it is. They have, unfortunately, the ownership group. They just don't get it. Don't get, and this is the kind of town, my brother. It's not that you need to win a championship every year or anything like that. But man, you got to win and entertain at least. You got to prove to people that you're really committed to winning. And then you'll win people over. But and the problem is you keep burying this franchise deeper and deeper. And I don't even know if it can get any deeper into the abyss than what it is. But there's no trust, no nothing. And it's a really insurmountable task almost to win everybody back. Look, the Panthers, it's taken Viola and Sifu several years to get just to this point now where they're at, and they're winning. And now if they can start to win big, that's when I think things really flip over. But that's exactly the what they're facing. They're going to have a long-term commitment like Viola and Sifu have had, with the Panthers. And I just don't know if Sherman and company can do it.
We're gonna find out, and a lot of this is unfortunately the last 5 years, not just this year now,
Right.
but it's sort of felt like 5 years ago there was some new direction and new thought process, and there may have been, but it was not executed. That's for sure. So maybe it's starting again now. I don't know the answer to it. Look, it's hard for me to argue against any of that stuff, but we're just going to have to see this play out, and naturally, time is sort of up in terms of getting fans' trust back. There's just not. It's not going to happen until they start winning again, and who knows if they'll do that next year? I don't know.
Well, you said we're going to have some juicy stuff to talk about. So
I
what's
was
going
right.
on with Don Mattingly? We know he is done. And whatever you feel about Don Mattingly, in the end, there wasn't enough for him to make chicken salad out of chicken, you know what. So that part, even though I'm not the biggest Don Mattingly believer, I've never have been. I never really looked at him as a great manager, but I'm going to also be completely honest. I don't know how much more you can get out of what he had and what he was given. So overall, it just has not been good. So where are they going from here, Mr. Craig Mish?
Yeah. So last week, you think I had an inkling that maybe that something was happening with me saying that? Probably right for me to say that on here. So yeah. So where do they go from here? So Donnie next week. I'm getting some wind here, Orlando. Donnie next week will go back to Evansville and spend a few weeks there, I guess, and then have to make a decision as to whether or not he's interested in remaining with the Marlins or maybe
He's
pursuing
gone.
something else.
He's
My
gone.
my sense is that is the second part, is that he'll pursue something else. I don't know if he'll be a manager this year, but I mean, my guess is Donnie takes like the year off from doing anything and then resurfaces the following year, either in a managerial job or a special assistant job or somewhere else. I think his time with the Marlins is over, in my opinion. Now, again, that could change. He could come back and all that, but I sense that the day the season ends, he goes home and that's it. Okay. Now, as far as
By the way, his body language to me is, "I've done what I can here.
I think
There
you're right.
isn't much more. What
I
more
think you're
can
right.
I do here? I'm wasting my time and I'm spinning wheels, and I need to just walk away from this." Basically, that's what his body language tells me, and you know what? None of it is inaccurate. Every
No,
part of it
and
is
the money that he would make to remain in the organization would not be in the seven-figure range, which is what he made as a manager. And Donnie has made a lot of money playing baseball and managing baseball. So you come at Donnie and say a six-figure salary to be a special assistant. Like, I mean, and now he has the choice. Do I do it with the Marlins? Do I do it with the Yankees? Do I do it closer to home with the White Sox or the Cubs? Those situations could be available
and who
too.
cares about being an assistant when your suggestions aren't really gonna be used anyways?
Yeah,
Because you know,
yeah.
yeah. Hey, listen, that young kid over there in Anaheim, we should try to steal him from them and get.
Who knows?
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
Whatever. It's just not gonna happen.
it's not.
So
It's not. But I've talked about this a lot, and I've never felt more mutual respect for Donnie and Donnie for me over the last few weeks. He really, I feel so bad about this whole thing, just the way that I don't feel bad about the way that it went. I thought it went really well at the end in terms of their parting, but I've really gotten to know him on a professional level very well. It's going to be hard. That last day's Yom Kippur, I can't even go, but it's going to be hard to sort of say goodbye, which I kind of did the other day, but I'll do it again, I think, next week. So the Marlins are going to hire a new manager, right? That's what you're alluding to.
yeah, I
So
would
yeah,
imagine
yeah. So they're going to hire a new manager.
a
My
young whippersnapper that's never had any opportunity,
Sounds
and
like it.
yeah,
Sounds like it. I think that there's a look. I want to be clear. They haven't interviewed anybody, but if I had to guess, I'm gonna guess it'll be a first year manager. Yes, I am gonna guess that it will be someone with experience though in Major League Baseball, which again
I
we've
mean, like a
seen this
bench
before.
coach or something like that. You're saying,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think they take somebody out of broadcasting or someone who's not doing anything right now. I don't get that sense. It could happen. I'm guessing right now, but my guesses are usually pretty good. So I'm going to guess it is a first year manager, as you mentioned, maybe a bench coach of some kind, a young guy somewhere that is willing to sort of work with the organization in terms of that dynamic of analytics versus gut feel. Like, I think that's going to be an important part, and I think that it's going to have to be somebody that, if they retain Mel Stottlemyre, and I know that they want to, if that ends up happening, then Mel Stottlemyre would just sort of handle all the pitching, and then the manager will handle everything else. And I think that combination is important. So I don't have a timeline on it. They can't interview any coaches on the teams that are making the postseason. They have to wait for a few more weeks on that, or 2 more weeks. So don't expect anything right now. But I would say before the end of October they'll have somebody new, or right into November if it's somebody on a postseason team.
And because Mel would handle, you're kind of almost making it like a football thing. Like, this is an established defensive coordinator, all right, like what the Dolphins did. And they had Josh Boyer, so they went and got Mike McDaniel and kept the defensive staff in place.
Same thing.
Does that okay? So, but the manager's not really working with hitters. But do you think it still would be somebody that's offensive minded that may have a little expertise in hitting to be the manager?
Not necessarily, no, because I think that they could hire the manager that they want, and that person could bring in the hitting person
Exactly.
from another organization,
Right.
if they want to do that. So Yeah, I don't know that any of their coaches are going to be retained in terms of the ones that they have right now. I'm going to guess none of them is a possibility except for Mel Stottlemyre, and even Stottlemyre has not committed to return as of yet. I know that they are trying, and maybe that'll go down before the end of the season. My fear for that is that Mel Stottlemyre becomes, they can't call Mel Stottlemyre right now, but he's technically not under contract the day the season ends. And my fear would be he becomes a free agent, and then some other organization comes in and says, "We'll take you." But I think the Marlins know, Orlando, that they're gonna have to boost up his salary quite a bit and put him among the top pitching coaches in the game. I think they're gonna do that. And so then the decision would just come down to Mel. Does he want to just stay where he is and continue this path, or does he want to go somewhere else? I'm going to lean that he stays at the moment. That's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, because I mean, Mel's already been around the block. He's got rings, so it's not like it's something that
He doesn't have
has
no
never.
rings, though.
No,
No.
he wasn't ever with the Yankees winning a ring.
His father.
Really?
His father.
Oh, that's why. That's where I'm confusing it. So he doesn't have one. So then that could be a problem.
We'll see. We'll see. I know
Then
Mel. I talked to Mel. He hasn't made a decision yet. Doesn't really want to talk about it till the end of the season. But
how old is he?
Let's see. How old is he?
Yeah.
I think he's late 50s, I think.
Okay. So because I'm thinking if he doesn't have one, so then is that the last thing that's left? Does he go to an organization that has one because he is a hell of a pitching coach? And then, or does he say, I'm at an age now where, man, I don't feel like moving around. I'm kind of,
I think the second part.
Yeah, I got my house here and all. He doesn't have the house on the West Coast, right?
He lives in Washington State.
Oh, God, that West.
So the other dynamic that occurs here is that what's happened over the last couple of years, really interesting dynamic for coaches in baseball, is the colleges are now paying a lot of money. And who's to say that the day the season ends, the University of Washington doesn't call Mel Stottlemyre and say, "Hey, do you want to be our pitching coach for the same amount of money that the Marlins would pay you and you can live home?" Like, that's a dynamic too that's in the equation.
Where are they getting that money?
Who, the Marlins?
No, college baseball.
They pay their coaches well. What do you mean? Nick Saban gets $10 million a year.
No, that's football, my brother.
Right. Baseball, so for baseball, you can't pay somebody a couple $100,000.
Baseball doesn't pay in college.
I think they would pay up for that.
There's only a couple of programs that actually can draw some people in college baseball. That's amazing.
I think a six-figure salary is very reasonable for a pitching coach of his stature in college, for sure.
What's a pitching coach get in the majors? Because I thought for sure he'd be in the millions.
No.
Wow. No. I thought it would be easily $1 million or $2 million.
No, like 300.
A great pitching coach. Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a ripoff. They're underpaid, dude.
I'm just telling you what it is.
I'm not arguing with you. You know, a freaking 1,000 times. You forgot more shit than I will ever know. That's not the point.
Like 300.
That's terrible. I never knew that. Yeah, I thought real pitching coaches got a 7-figure salary, man.
No, not all managers do either.
Damn. That's terrible, dude.
Donnie was making that. Donnie was doing well as a manager.
I would expect that he would be doing well as a manager. But
so again, you hire a new manager that's getting paid half of Donnie, and then you can shift that money around to the rest of the staff. That's probably what's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Now, are they going to shift any money to the payroll?
I don't know.
You can shift all the coaches you want and managers you want. If you don't give them talent, my brother, it's the same thing as Tua sitting there last year with, Flo and that crap staff that he had and that crap talent that he had around him. So what's the deal?
They traded for Tyreek Hill, so maybe the Marlins have a Tyreek Hill up their sleeve. I don't know. We'll see.
Do you see that happening?
I think they're going to try and make trades, yes. I don't know if they'll be successful, but I think they're going to try.
So they're going to go the route of – so what you're saying, so what you're telling me now, I'm trying to read through the trees here. So
what you're telling me, I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, but what you're saying is that the way they will try to acquire talent is through trading their pitching, not through free agency and
Accurate.
outright money.
Accurate.
Okay.
Accurate. I don't think the organization is willing to, and probably fairly, enable the front office at this point. Now, remember, some of this was Jeter and Denbo too. Okay, a lot of this was. I don't think that they'll enable Kim another 4-year, $50 million deal. I don't
Okay.
think that they will just say, "Hey, Kim, here's another 50 million." Like Garcia, here's another 40 million. Like Soler, have at it. I think they're going to say, let's take a step back. Let's sign a couple guys to some 1-year deals. Let's trade and try and get those guys that we need via trade. I personally think that's the way it's going to happen. And by the way,
they've got a crap ton of pitching, so
could you blame the owner at that point and say, "Hey, what's wrong with you? Why don't you drop another 50 million?" I personally could not, after the disaster that was last year. Now, if they fail in the trades, then there's going to be a lot of culpability involved. But if I was running the organization, I would say, I'm going to spend some more money. I'll do it via trade, which means I'm going to acquire some players. I'm trading cheap guys. I'm going to get more expensive guys. But they're all going to be under team control or within a year or two of free agency. That's how the payroll is going to go up.
Right. And to me, listen, not ideal, but considering their limitations as an organization, it actually is the smart way to do it, because if you go out and give somebody the money like they did and they're bad signings like they are, now you're stuck with those bad signings. But
especially one of them.
Exactly. But you got a crap ton of pitching. So you got an opportunity to go trade some to get a guy that you're going to control. And while you're controlling him, you're going to find out about him. So at least if he's not good enough, you don't have to pay him in the end.
Right.
But if
so I'll give you an example.
He is good enough, then you'll pay him what he deserves, because he already proved to you he was good enough.
So the same name is going to come up again this offseason that came up last offseason. It's the same name. His name is Brian Reynolds. He's a center fielder on the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can look him up while we're talking. So Reynolds is a high-quality center fielder who I think in any park is, let's just throw out 270, 280, 20 home runs, 10 steals, Gold Glove caliber defense, not a superstar, but a good enough player to hold down that position, bat near the top of the lineup, get on base, and be a solid contributor on a Major League Baseball team. A very good player who in free agency is going to command 7 years, 150 million, like Starling Marte, and a younger guy. He is going to command. So in order to get him, the Marlins are going to have to unload to Pittsburgh to get this player. They're going to have to trade a lot of young guys. They've already talked about this happening. They could not come to an agreement. Reynolds will be cheap, Orlando. He'll make 10 million next year. Right. What will happen with the Marlins payroll? He's going to replace somebody right now, Orlando, making 0. So their payroll goes up 10 million. You understand? That's how this happens. That's how this happens.
Right. Okay. All right. I mean, what the hell? And then the worst case scenario is what you just said. If you make bad trades, then you kind of know your organization is crap from top to bottom.
Then you're done at that point.
Yeah,
you can't make trades and you can't sign players. You're absolutely right. And you may as well pack it in.
You might as well pack it in, because if you can't trade and you can't do it the Rays and the A's way, then
or Cleveland,
and you can't buy them, or Cleveland, and you can't buy them, then you're done. You're done as an organization. You're not skilled enough, and you're better off selling. Is Sherman's team worth less now than when he bought it?
I don't think so, based on the evaluations I'm hearing of Washington and the Angels. I don't think so. I think it's worth the same or more.
But Washington has two. I mean, the Angels have 2 players that increase your value
not as much as you would think. No.
Damn. Okay.
Owning the franchise is the key. What would you guess those franchises are worth?
$1.5 billion, 1.3, something like that. $2 billion. Wow. Damn. So his 1.1 is up already to 1.5, 1.7 or something like that?
That's a little on the high side, but you get the point.
But he's making money already.
Devastation by any stretch.
All right, so that's good. So then, well, and that's actually good news for me. So he can sell it to Moss and move out. Okay, all right, that's good.
It's
I
not
like it.
happening.
I
But
like
okay.
it. Well, Harrison, sell it to
He's
somebody
not
that's
selling
got
the
money.
team. Why? Just give it a little time. He's not
No,
selling
I'm
the team.
saying if you fail in the
Oh, if
trading
we
is what
fail
I'm
the next
saying.
few years, yeah, sure, he could do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, not right now. No, I mean you got one more shot here. All right. We know you're not a free agent team. Okay, so now let's see if you can trade. And if you can trade, then now what has before I let you go, what has changed in the draft department in your eyes now? Because they have been successful in landing pitching. And but they haven't been successful in landing bats.
No.
So now that Jeter has walked out the door and Dembo has walked out the door, what has changed under Kim when it comes to unearthing talent through the college draft?
Yeah, a little more complicated than that. So DJ Svilik is the director of amateur scouting. It's been his draft the last 4 years, and the players that he has drafted on the pitching side have become stars or look like stars or tradable assets, and the hitters have not. It is here and here on the scale,
Right.
or here and
Yeah.
here, right? Whatever it is.
Right.
So the question that you have to ask yourself right now is DJ Svilik drafting the wrong players, or are they not developing the players at the in the minor league system? I don't know the answer to that. We're going to find out soon. The only thing that I could tell you is it may, and by the way, it may be a combination of both, but I know with factual evidence, because I've looked into this, that JJ Bleday, let's use him, Orlando as the example. When the Marlins had a very high draft pick, they took him at the University of Vanderbilt. He was a Golden Spikes Award winner, one of the best hitters in all of college baseball at the time. They won the national championship. And I got to call it how it is, Orlando. He's not looked good at
Yeah.
all, at
Yeah.
all at the major league level. Buck 70, like does not look like an everyday player right now in the big leagues. That's gonna have to
I know.
change.
I know. I've seen it.
But here's the question: if the Marlins didn't take JJ Bleday, what would have happened? And the next team would have taken him. So what's the deal here? Are the Marlins not developing the players of the minor league system, or was he just a bad pick? I don't know the answer to that. I don't
Well,
know.
no. Wait a minute. You have answered it. Because if all the other picks are bad, then they're just bad picks. Because are you just that bad that you don't develop any offensive players?
Thus far, well, remember the first round pick is in baseball is usually the one that has to be the surefire winner. You can get guys at the late first round, second round, they can be productive, but let's not get it twisted. There aren't a lot of fifth round picks that are stars in Major League Baseball. It's just not that way. Are they contributors? Yes, it could be. But they simply put have not seen any of those offensive players the year before DJ took over the draft and since then that have been contributors at the major league level. They have not seen it. But I'm here to tell you that JJ Bleday would have went next. So was JJ Bleday a bad pick where the Marlins took him? Or did something happen when the point that he got drafted? Was he not developed properly? I don't know the answer to these things. We have to wait and see. But the pitchers that they've drafted have either been traded in some deals, they've been developed to the point where they look like they could be big league pitchers and stars. So how did that happen? So how did the Marlins get all the pitchers right and they just didn't get the hitters right? That doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, they
So,
do draft a shit ton of pitchers.
well, they have to trade them now.
I know, but what I'm saying is the fishnet approach has been in pitching, not in hitting. That's my point.
It has, and they even traded Starling Marte for a pitcher. They need to trade for some hitters.
Exactly. And that's also been the thing, too. Maybe you might have hit on more hitters if you drafted more hitters. But since you've drafted so many freaking pitchers, that's why you're hitting on pitching. You know what I'm saying? But now's your job now that you've established some of those pitchers, well, then go get a bat, bro. Go get a
They have
bat
to
or
get not
two.
just a bat; they have to get
Yeah.
more than one.
Yeah, they have to get a couple bats. They have to
A
trade for a
lot.
couple bats. And
They
they're gonna
they
have to trade.
basically, when you look at it, have like 2 or 3 players that you can envision starting next year on their team that are on the team now. That's pretty horrible.
Yeah. Is Jazz fine? How is he?
Yeah, Jazz is a complicated guy, man. He is just a complicated guy. So yeah, Jazz is fine. He, it's really he and I have funny back and forth. So Jazz says he's playing in the World Baseball Classic. Did you see this? So he says
No.
he's playing for Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic, and so this like a big story, like, oh, I'm playing the World Baseball Classic. but Jazz like hasn't been on the field since July. And I mean, is he going to be healthy in 5 months to do that? Probably. I would say so. But I would also say, hey, Jazz, like, I think you have to get permission from the Marlins to play in this. I don't think that you just get to play. And I don't know that the Marlins, I mean, maybe the Marlins will give him permission. I don't know, but I don't know that they have either. I think that they may say, hey, like, no offense to Great Britain, Chief, but like, we need you for next year. Can you just stick with us for all of February and March and not go play in the World Baseball Classic and, you know, be 100% healthy? But Jazz wants to play, you know, and that's listen, that's the spotlight right there, that WBC. So that's what Jazz wants. I get it. I understand it. But he's an interesting
he's not gonna have a spotlight with Miami. So I get it.
He's an interesting cat. I don't know. He says he's playing in it. I'm going to give my buddy Jazz the benefit of the doubt in that. But I don't know the Marlins are going to give him permission to play in that. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Tell him about the Sports Grid where you're all over the place.
Sports Grid's coming up 2:00 Eastern. A lot of discussion today on the hurricane and how it's affecting a lot of the different sporting events. South Carolina's moved their games to Thursday. The Gators are playing on Sunday. Could have some NFL postponements. Could have some Major League Baseball move around games. And then 11 a.m. doing fantasy sports today and trying to stay dry for the next couple of days. My kids are home from school, so I got that going on too. And Herald pieces have just been fast and furious. I think I'll have one soon on and have a manager's list.
Okay, I like it. Look forward to that. And follow him on Twitter at Craig Mish. And of course, the podcast Swings and Mishes. If you want to keep up with the Marlins, what is that going to be, like once a month now during the off season?
I don't know. No promises.
Whenever, you know what you do? You subscribe and then you hit the notification.
And then it pops.
Right.
Like when your show pops, I get it on my phone. I'm like, oh, here's Orlando show. There it is.
Boom. And there you go. So hit the notification bell and subscribe to Swings and Mishes and make sure you follow him also on the Sports Grid and support him there. He is Craig Mish. Craig, have a fantastic afternoon. Stay safe, my friend. We will catch up next week.
All right. Be well.
You got it. There you go. Craig Mish for the Welt and Rheaume Batter's Box. We step out now of the Batter's Box.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.